Yeah, I will leave any comments about the energy because it's about clean energy, and I mean I am of a different mind that yes, nuclear power. In fact, nuclear power has been on the go for decades. It's not that new, but I mean we've chosen to ignore it for its because we are scared of nuclear, scared of radiation, all those kind of things because of the lack of knowledge and education. That's why I really appreciate what was just mentioned about the clean energy. I also want to notice on the energy side that with what people don't know about China building something like a new coal-fired power plant about every week. But that is, and people they think this is a bad thing. But what they don't know is, I spoke to somebody who just came back from China. Says the coal-fired plants they're building now with the latest technology, because after all, China rolls 15,000 engineers out of their programs every year easily. So they are very well skilled, and the coal-fired power plant are some of the cleanest power plants in the world. And people don't know that because all the things that they've done, the filters and everything, he mentioned parts per million, but it's negligible really. So I just want to mention that now, but I actually really looked into when Dr. Caroline asked me, put the 4 points together, the one that really stood out for me is about attracting investment without losing sovereignty in Africa. So there's some lessons from Africa's path to true independence. And I think when we actually speak about Africa as attracting private and public investment, I mean, the challenge before us has always been clear. I said, how can we secure the capital and technology we need to power our just energy transition without surrendering our sovereignty to external interests? I mean, I see it in farming as well. I see there's people very interested in farming, and I want to connect with all of them because we are at the cusp of starting some major farming projects throughout Africa. But the sovereignty, actually, what it means is to have full control over our resources, our policies, and ultimately our destiny. See, because for African nations, this is the very foundation of sustainable development. We can't have anything sustainable, as we found out, to our own detriment in the past because of how we have been controlled. See, we cannot afford to be beholden to foreign investors who impose conditions that prioritize profits over people or whose debts demand undermining our policy autonomy. Now, a striking example, and I mentioned it the last time I was on as well, a striking example stand out in our continent today is President Traoré of Burkina Faso. See, because his bold decisions to turn down foreign investment offers that come with strings attached is sending a powerful message. True independence is about freedom. Freedom from the financial chains of debt and conditions imposed by global investors, be they foreign governments, international banks, or multinational corporations, because these are also the very institutions that have done their best to keep Africa poor and economically enslaved to the West. And President Traoré actually demonstrates that rejecting exploitive investments can actually pave the ways for genuine self-determination. See, Burkina Faso's sovereignty over quick capital signaling that Africa can and should define its path on its own terms. You know, it's about time we did this. And it doesn't matter whether we talk about any industry, about farming, about energy, all these kind of things. It's on our own terms. We have the knowledge, as I already mentioned. We have the skills in Africa. You mentioned that as well, Madeleine. We have the skills, we have the knowledge, we have the power, but we've never used that power because of a variety of reasons. And one of them is the problem with our mindset. So how can Africa broadly attract investment without losing sovereignty? Well, first of all, we must build strong, and the next word is important, transparent government framework. Investors want certainty, but it cannot come at the expense of our regulatory powers. See, clear laws, accountability, and another big one, anti-corruption measures create an environment where investments are mutually beneficial, not exploitive. And secondly, we need public-private partnerships, carefully negotiated to protect our social and environmental priorities. See, contracts must be fair, with clauses that ensure local job creation, technology transfer, and reinvestment into communities. Sovereignty lies in controlling those terms. And thirdly, African countries should diversify funding sources. See, beyond traditional foreign direct investment, We have options like climate finance, and people know how I feel about that, green bonds, and Pan-African institutions and institutional investors who actually do share our vision. So we must strengthen and unify through initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area to improve our collective bargaining position. And that's another thing. See, when will we become collective? We're talking about cross-border collaborations and partnerships. We can't even agree in our own countries on how to work together. We need to start working together in our own communities, because we have all these, and I said this before as well, we've got all these wonderful global goals, and that's exactly what they are, global goals. But we can think globally, but we need to act locally, because it's wonderful to have 17 different goals, but unless we start acting locally and we find out what the real needs are of the communities, one community at a time, one county at a time, one country at a time. When we start working locally, the same as I said before, I'm in leadership as well. Leadership, changes in countries never really, or very rarely come from the top of leadership. They actually come from the people themselves. So when we put that into this context, whether it's energy or anything else, we shouldn't look at global goals. I find them fascinating. But they don't, apart from the fact that they don't work, they never worked before, and they won't work this time either. What will work is if we start asking locally, what are the challenges we have with our energy? And of course, the challenge is not really that we haven't got enough energy. We haven't got the technology to bring the energy to all the people who actually need it. The same as fresh water. The same as some of the other things. So if we think locally and actually solve the local problems one community at a time, if they fit in with the global SDGs, fine. If not, who cares? But finally, so we must strengthen and unify through initiatives like that African trade agreements, that we need to go across countries, but we need to start at the local communities. And finally, investment in capacity building is critical. See, if we develop our own expertise and infrastructure, we're not just recipients of investment, we become equal partners and innovators, reducing reliance on external dictates. See, my wife also a Loani member, Dr. Artie Moore Roberts, she's actually at the G20 just now. She got the pleasure of being invited to that, and she's loving it at the moment. And that President Trump, another T, that he's not there, well, bully for him. He's only a bully anyway. And the fact that he's not there, he has got no say in it. So we can leave him where he is. But President Traore, his stance reminds us that sovereignty is a non-negotiable pillar of our just energy transition and of anything else that we do. It challenges to be bold, to invest in ourselves, and to attract capital investment that respects our autonomy and uplifts our people. Now, in this vision, Africa's energy future belongs to Africans, with investments that empower and not enslave. Thank you.